Menace was a fan of the prequels, which, no problem. Though we might not, me and Soto might not agree, but we all agreed that the sequels sucked and were worse. Tengu, do you think the prequels were worse, or do you think the sequels were worse?
Man,
I know it's a loaded question, and we're
are you
going to
talking
get
about
into
like at the time, maybe, or like?
how are you
Just
feel.
right
Yeah,
now.
maybe.
Yeah, how do you feel
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah,
You
how
know?
you doing? Here,
How you feel right now?
hey, put the spotlight on him.
Well, he's like, wait, these guys have been. No, but be honest, it's okay. No, but which do
No,
you think
but
as a collective whole?
Gosh, this is like kind of a hard question now that I think about it. Because I think at the time when like the prequels came out, like I was like Star Wars for me was still kind of like a new kind of thing,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
yeah,
So I think I was a little bit more, um, I guess, forgiving
Yeah.
when it came to the world.
Mhm.
yeah,
So when the sequels came out, I'm just like, I've been into Star Wars for a long time, and you get kind of hyped for it. So uh,
yeah,
I guess saying now, I think I still kind of prefer the prequels compared to the sequels. I
Yeah.
think,
yeah.
like for me, because like there was a bit more kind of like
Foundation.
There's been more time
no,
to
it's like
heal with the
the
prequels.
way they took the story too,
Heal the
you
world.
know? Like
Yeah,
I wish they took a bit more like chances with the sequels in terms
Mhm.
of just storytelling. And I feel like at the end they were like, "Oh, let's throw this big old thing at the end. Let's make it like epic," but they didn't earn it, you
Mhm.
know?
Correct. So I'm going to say this. I know I just said it in the beginning. I actually just recently, in the last 2 days, watched episode 7 and 8 because I kind of want to do my best to because I only watched each film once and it's been a while. So I'm watching The Force Awakens, and I'm going to say this. I still think the sequels are worse than the prequels as a whole, but The Force Awakens is better than any prequel. Because,
Ah,
and I'm sorry, Madness, I'm
Wow.
watching it.
I like this take.
Because here's the thing. Sono and I have talked about this about other movies and things. Like there was a nostalgic feel, seeing Han, seeing Leia, and I'm going to say this right now: watching the scene when Han sees Leia again hits differently now that Carrie Fisher's gone. I'm like, this is the saddest moment in Star Wars for me because like just seeing them together again and just realizing Carrie Fisher's gone, like that broke my soul. I'm like, this is now the saddest moment, but I like the way they introduced new characters for the most part in The Force Awakens, because you didn't know where they're going. Now, mind you, don't think if 8 and 9 has happened yet. You're like, okay. The only problem I had was Poe, because they introduced Poe, okay, a fighter jet, pilot, blah, blah, blah. And then he, quote unquote, dies. They had that, and I'm like, he
Hmm.
didn't earn the fake death. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have time to like this
yeah,
character. Then he comes back, and you're like, okay, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not like you had a
yeah,
whole film and a film, like when Han Solo got in Carbonite. We had a whole film and a half to like, oh my god, to feel in that moment that Han Solo could be gone. We didn't know what was going to
Yeah.
happen, obviously afterwards.
yeah,
So I felt like the Poe
Years.
character could have
yeah,
that the fake death where he died and then came back. I felt that was kind of cheesy, but then even Ray, the start of it, they introduced the characters correctly. They wanted to take it in a new direction, but just gave us just enough nostalgia to enjoy it. Yes, to me, The Force Awakens is so much better than any of the prequels. But then they get into The Last Jedi and Last Skywalker, or Rise of Skywalker, excuse me, and that's why I still would consider the sequels worse because those two things, you're right, they didn't take chances. Ray barely trained with Luke. The first thing Luke does is throw away his lightsaber as a joke, which was funny.
yeah,
But then you're like, wow, the whole first film they're trying to find Luke, and then what's he do? He's like, yeah, go away, people. So I don't know
yeah.
the last two films, but The Force Awakens I did enjoy more than all the prequels. So I'm sorry, Menace, but feel free to weigh in. That is just my take. But yeah, the sequels still worse, but Force Awakens better. So
Wow.
I said it.
How do
I
you follow
know.
that up?
Oh, I'm still in shock. But yeah, I can't. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I don't feel like they did enough to, like say, earn some of the things they did. The characters are just plastic for me. I just don't. I just can't get into them.
It felt like
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean,
merchandise to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like merchandise, dude. The prequels, man. Chad, it brings up a great point because you're right. Like to me, the sequels and the prequels are both awful for both different reasons. But you're right. The Force Awakens is better to me than the prequels because the prequels, like there's so many fucking cringy fucking moments and dialogue in the prequels that is just marketed for fucking children. And sure, like Star Wars, the original trilogy was for kids too, but it wasn't
Yeah.
so blatantly like for children. Like everything was marketed to fucking kids. And it's like I'm picturing
Yeah.
this whole headcanon. And again, a lot of this is because of my mind and what I thought was going to happen. Is that, I thought it would be like, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, like they're best friends coming up in like some sort of Jedi Academy, and like they
Yeah.
go through some shit together and all that stuff. And it's like, didn't make sense. And then making Jake Lloyd, the like I said earlier, like the kid in the beginning was just stupid. It immediately like makes it like, oh well, look at Darth Vader. He was cute when he was a kid. Oh, he's gonna turn evil though. Oh,
Yeah.
the sequels are worse in the way that so the prequels are worse in their way where it totally fumbled the bag as far as like just executing on what was already established. But the thing that makes the sequels worse for me is that the sequels fail to fulfill the promise of what we thought the future could look like for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that is way more egregious than just fucking up the background like past stuff. Because whatever, we love the originals. Like the prequels, like they can have their day. But what would it look like in the future? Like we always wanted to see a sequel with like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, all that stuff. And then we do get it. And in The Force Awakens, we get like an imperfect remake of A New Hope, which is fine. I was okay
Yeah.
with it. I really liked when Kylo Ren like stopped the blaster like in midair, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, it's gonna be like this now. Like I was like, okay. But then after that, as they tried to expand on the story with Snoke, and then Kylo Ren's stupid ass face turn, and
Yeah.
that was not earned at all, and then
No,
Which
just
everyone saw
like,
coming. I'm sorry. You
but
kind of
but it
felt
was
like that was
so
coming.
dumb
Yeah.
though,
Yeah. Yeah.
so dumb. Like you killed Han Solo.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about you. Like, and then this all of a sudden this shit happens, and then it just fizzled out, and then the whole Rey is like Palpatine's fucking kid. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
And the
god!
fact
Like,
that
just
Palpatine's still
absolutely,
alive, yeah.
just dropped everything on the floor, like just a perfect dish that you had going
Said
on.
just
Because
the
like,
time and technology, and they just like
oh
threw
my
it
god,
away for
yeah.
marketing.
Oh, it's great. Exactly. So I do think the sequels are bad. For me, I have a very specific hate towards the prequels because of when I saw it, and even when I try to rewatch it. I mean, I just cannot get over Hayden Christensen's performance. It is terrible.
Mhm.
Like it's just objectively terrible. You may have your feelings about it and emotions about the whole movie, but you can't tell me that Hayden Christensen's performance in those movies is good. And it's been retconned now because like he's like in the new like Star Wars shit. Like, and he's like in fucking Ahsoka, whatever, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's so great." He reprised his roles, but he was terrible back then.
Yeah.
It's a fact. I just can't stand his acting. Like that is not. Anakin Skywalker seems like, yeah, Luke was a whiny bitch, okay, but his dad was too. Like, I mean, do
It
you know
runs
what I
in the
mean? I
family.
don't fucking get it. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, the romance is forced between him and fucking Padme. Like, the way she dies makes no sense. Like, it just because like in the movies, like in the original trilogy, they're like, oh yeah, I remember my mom. Like Leia says that shit.
Mhm.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, I
They
agree
just
with you.
forgot
They
about that
should have
shit. Like, what the
a lot of
fuck?
plot holes. A lot of plot holes. They
Yeah, but you
needed
you
to
you
fill.
wrote it. You're George Lucas. You wrote this shit. It's
Yeah.
your story. How did you forget what you were writing? It doesn't make sense.
Go
All
to the
you had to do
DVD.
was
We remember.
just fucking do what you said you were gonna do. Say the things that you just fill the holes out. Because he was like, "Oh, I wrote all 6 movies all at once, but I just only released like 4, 5, and 6." Bullshit. I
Mm.
call bullshit on that. Because when it was time for you to do the prequels, you fucking dropped the goddamn ball.
16
Yeah.
years, yep. Oh, all right. Let's bring it down. But I going back to the sequels a little bit before we move on. No, because the other thing I had a problem with the sequels,
We're back down to earth.
like you mentioned Snoke,
From a
and
galaxy far
Snoke
away.
was like the new main villain trying to, train Kylo Ren, and it's like, okay, let me see more. And then what happens to Snoke in The Last Jedi? He gets Kylo Ren, just kills him, and then you're like, well, shit, I barely knew anything about Snoke. Why the fuck should I care
Yeah.
about this
Didn't even
villain?
fucking, yeah, like what the
Why should we
fuck?
care? Yeah.
Dude, I didn't care about a lot of things after The Force Awakens, but that was just like, sure, that fight scene was cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool fight scene.
Mhm.
That's about it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, so I'm gonna laugh at this.
Yeah.
Come back.
You know, um, Anything else people want to bring up about the sequels? And because I think we're all in agreement the sequels are worse. You know, I mean, though, like for
Wait, did you
opinions
say
are
this?
best.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
They're
Carry on.
problematic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they're very problematic. But you know, now what? I think Ray's got a new 3 movies coming out. Like they've already announced
No,
Yeah.
3.
that'll never happen. It just
Well,
won't happen, dude.
I hope not. I'd rather go to like the original stories and stuff like that, or something new.
This
Just
community
give.
is like way too toxic. Obviously, hand
It's
raised
been
here.
toxic for
Like
years.
it's too toxic.
Even before Phantom Menace came out.
People have opinions on this shit that they will not move off of. Okay, myself included. So no matter what reason or logic anybody brings, you're like, no, you're wrong.
That's it.
Mhm.